Hi, welcome back to Interior Design by Lorraine Youngblood. And today we are going to continue our cost segment so that you can make the choices for your remodel or design that give you the greatest impact for your dollar, and you know where your choices are going to cost you more money. So, as with all of the other cost segments I do on my videos, please check local pricing. They will vary by region, state, city, and the like, depending on where you're at. So, what I like to do is just give you some information around what decisions stylistically will affect the overall cost, either up or down. And so today we're going to talk about drywall. It's going to be fairly short. We've talked in the electrical and plumbing, some of the choices that you would have to make in your electrical and plumbing areas that will affect your drywall. And a lot of that's going to have to do with patching or retexturing around patches, that kind of thing. So in this part of that series, we're just going to talk about mostly about texture, a little bit about materials, but please talk to your drywall expert about specific materials for your region and what might be newly available as we move forward with sustainability and moisture proofing or moisture resistance. Green board is typically what they talk about as the drywall that goes into bathrooms that is moisture resistant. That's what you want to put in most of your wet areas, is a green board drywall, so that it protects against moisture intrusion, mold, mildew, that kind of thing. So that is going to cost more than standard drywall always. So you want to pick and choose depending on how wet your current area is, but always in bathrooms. Always in bathrooms. So I live in a fairly moist environment. I'm in the Northwest. We have a lot of rain. It's cold, so moisture doesn't dry very quickly here, even though it's not super humid. So we have to kind of really be aware of that kind of thing in bathrooms. So ceilings, walls, everything gets done in green board whenever possible, if you have the choice in that matter. Now, next we're going to talk about texture. Now, in most areas, the way it's going to go expense wise is your least expensive texture is going to be a standard, what they call orange peel. That's the kind of thing that you can get at a big box store in a spray can. You spray it on, and it just looks like a kind of a soft. Well, it looks like an orange peel. That's why they call it that. So it's just a soft texture, not much detail to it. It allows that you can't see the dents in that, like in the drywall itself. After the drywall gets hung, it gets taped. Maybe if there's holes or something like that through the nailing process, they might patch over that to give a semi-smooth surface. So the orange peel texture is going to be your least expensive and fastest, because they can typically spray it on super fast in an entire house or area, and it's much easier for the drywaller to provide that texture and less expensive. Then between that, you're going to have what they'll have like a light knockdown. And so they might spray that orange peel texture on a little bit heavier, and then they'll take a trowel through and just kind of knock off the bumps. And that's where you get the pattern. It almost looks like clouds that are flat, right? Like you can make shapes in the walls when you look at them. Oh, I see a bird there and I see a dog there, but that's what they'll call just a basic knockdown, and that's going to be your next expensive. Then after that, you're going to be talking about a full trowel that's going to mimic the old-fashioned plaster walls. That's going to be a heavier texture. It's all done by hand and takes quite a bit longer both to apply and to dry. So please be aware of that. Then typically it's going to be a toss up between that one and a smooth texture. But most often your smooth texture drywall, which is most often the texture that you will see in your mid-century modern up through the 1970s-ish, very smooth, completely flat. There's no texture to it at all. And that takes the longest amount of time for a drywaller to apply because it pretty much has to be perfect before the paint goes on, because otherwise you will see every imperfection. So those are your levels of drywall, and a pretty short video today, which is awesome. But that just so that you know what your options are. And if you start, Googling texture finishes, that I'm sure that there are variations, especially in the custom plaster look, that you could talk to your drywaller about the cost differences as to kind of like the overall effect that you want to go for. I think that is it today. And just if you have questions, I would love to hear comments and posts on any of my videos. I love to answer questions from my clients. So that's how much it costs on drywall. Be aware. It's always going to be faster and easier for them to do a full set drywall, which means that they're just hanging full pieces in a whole room, as opposed to patching, which takes them longer and more time. And so there's almost always going to be a minimal cost if you're just doing small patch jobs. Just be aware of that, because it takes a little extra time and effort to do that versus just hanging full pieces in a room. So that is all for today. I hope you have an amazing day. Lorene Youngblood with Sacred by Design.